There are homes built on sheer cliffs, perched above deep chasms, or standing amid remote deserts, where the surrounding environment feels as extraordinary as the structures themselves. Some appear suspended in midair, anchored to massive granite formations, or positioned beside powerful waterways, creating living spaces that challenge conventional ideas of architecture and design. Every doorway, staircase, and balcony is carefully engineered, reflecting the precision required to build in such demanding locations. The combination of bold architecture and dramatic landscapes transforms every room, terrace, and window into a viewpoint overlooking remarkable natural scenery, creating experiences that feel both thrilling and unforgettable. This journey through the world's most extreme homes will reveal how creativity, engineering, and challenging terrain come together to produce some of the most extraordinary places to live on Earth. Bivacco Buffa di Perrero is a wooden shelter anchored directly into a sandstone cliff of the Dolomite Mountains, at an elevation of 9,055 feet in Veneto, Italy. This structure was built by Alpini mountain infantry soldiers during World War I for reconnaissance purposes. Perched precariously on the edge of an abyss, it challenges every conventional concept of civilian construction. To secure a load-bearing structure onto a vertical cliff face, soldiers of the early 20th century had to carry every wooden plank and sheet of metal by hand through snowstorms. The entire foundation clings to the rock wall through a rudimentary system of supporting beams. This unusual location transformed the shelter into a military observation bunker inaccessible from below. Anyone wishing to reach the structure must use professional climbing techniques along a via ferrata route attached to the exposed cliff face. With no protective barriers whatsoever, climbers must move across narrow ledges on steep rock while facing constant gusts of wind. A single misstep could result in a fall of more than 3,281 feet into the abyss below. Inside the shelter are only a few simple wooden bunk beds and a long table intended for emergency refuge, with no electricity, water supply, or heating system. The only means of survival for visitors comes from supplies carried up from the valley. This century-old structure endures as an extreme symbol of survival amid a harsh natural environment. Clinging to a sheer cliff, approximately 1,312 feet above the valley, Masada was essentially a survival bunker, and the fortified residence of King Herod the Great in the Judean desert of Israel. This palace occupied the summit of an isolated rocky plateau. Its steep and formidable terrain transformed the residence into a lonely stone island, separated from the world below. To sustain life in this dwelling amid the desert, ancient builders carved 12 enormous underground cisterns into the rock. A system of channels was constructed to capture the rare floodwaters that swept through the desert. Nearby, large storage facilities held wheat, oil, and other provisions, preserving supplies in the arid climate. Access to the residence involved the breathtaking challenge of the Snake Path, a narrow and winding trail running along exposed cliff faces. To penetrate this living space, Roman forces had to mobilize tens of thousands of workers to move stones and construct a massive ramp against the western slope over many months. Inside the 2,000-year-old residence, traces of simple stone rooms, bathhouses, and colorful mosaic floors remain visible. The site endures intense heat year-round from the nearby Dead Sea region. Having survived for 2 millennia, the structure remains one of the most extreme settlement complexes ever created. Mount Fanjing Golden Temple is an extraordinary suspended architectural landmark consisting of 2 small halls standing separately atop 2 sharp rock peaks rising 328 feet on Mount Fanjing in China. Located at an elevation of 7,664 feet above sea level, the Hall of Shakyamuni and the Hall of Maitreya are connected by a stone bridge spanning a deep chasm, creating the sensation of floating among the clouds. Built during the Ming Dynasty, this survival structure has had to withstand violent valley winds capable of tearing apart rooftops and dense fog that blankets the area for more than 200 days each year. The interior of each hall is extremely cramped, providing just enough space for sacred statues and minimal ceremonial activities. No living amenities exist within the structure. The remarkable feat of manual construction required workers to carve more than 8,000 stone steps into the mountainside at angles approaching 90 degrees. To reach the summit, builders and monks had to cling by hand to iron chains anchored directly into the rock. Every daily activity, including using sanitation facilities at this elevation, carried the risk of a potentially fatal fall. Every sandstone brick and glazed iron roof tile was carried to the mountaintop entirely by human labor. The use of specialized iron roofing materials helps the structure remain stable against extreme wind forces and repeated direct lightning strikes. This twin temple complex stands as a vivid testament to architectural survival in one of the most challenging terrains imaginable. Uplistsikhe, meaning Fortress of the Lord, is one of the oldest cave cities in the Caucasus region, located in the Shita-Kartli province of Georgia. About 6.2 miles east of the city of Gori, this extreme living environment was carved directly into the side of a massive sandstone mountain. The settlement transformed the barren mountain surface into a system of sturdy stone dwellings exposed to the elements. Formed in the late 2nd millennium BCE, ancient craftsmen of the Late Bronze Age used stone axes to carve the mountain interior into vaulted ceilings designed to imitate wooden beams. Within the dense rock mass, wine-producing grape presses and deep storage chambers were integrated directly into the structure. Drainage channels were carved straight into the stone to withstand severe storms. A secret tunnel carved through the steep rocky mountain connected directly to the riverbank and served as the settlement's only lifeline. This dangerous underground passage functioned both as the daily water route and as a means for residents to remain hidden from nomadic tribes. The resilience of the settlement depended on its ability to withstand powerful winds constantly sweeping across its surface. The stark stone surfaces, covered with moss accumulated over thousands of years, preserve evidence of adaptation within this ancient settlement, which is currently on UNESCO's World Heritage Tentative List. This architectural complex, built without bricks or roof tiles, continues to endure. The structure survives with remarkable resilience, serving as a fundamental model of residential settlement in human history. Gásadalur is an extreme residential settlement nestled among steep cliffs that plunge directly into the North Atlantic Ocean in the Faroe Islands. This living environment is completely surrounded by mountains rising more than 2,297 feet high, leaving its residents in near total isolation before 2004. The architecture here was forced to adapt to the severe conditions found at the edge of the inhabited world. The settlement's isolation turned life for this small community into a centuries-long exercise in self-sufficiency. Daily necessities and sources of energy had to be produced locally because the terrain effectively cut the village off from the rest of the world. Residents accepted direct exposure to violent ocean storms and relentless winds. Beneath these homes, the Mulafosura waterfall plunges dramatically into the cold open sea below, surrounded by a stark and desolate landscape. Human resilience transformed this harsh environment into a secure and welcoming home in the middle of the ocean. These grass-roofed structures remain firmly rooted in the mountainside, revealing a highly demanding form of habitation. Capanna Margherita is a research station and mountain refuge perched atop Signal Cupa in the Monte Rosa Massif of Italy. Located at a record elevation of 14,941 feet above sea level, it is the highest building in all of Europe. The structure resembles a gigantic steel box anchored to a sharp mountain summit, surrounded on all sides by permanent ice and snow. Inaugurated in 1893 by the Italian Alpine Club, the facility was originally dedicated to research in high-altitude medicine and meteorology. Transporting dozens of tons of construction materials, structural timber, and scientific equipment to the summit during the 19th century relied entirely on human porters and mule caravans crossing heavily crevassed glaciers. To maintain habitability against relentless freezing storms, the entire exterior is covered with durable copper panels and equipped with a dense network of grounding cables designed to protect against frequent direct lightning strikes common at high elevations. Each year, the station is open to visitors only from June through September, when weather conditions are at their least severe. Reaching this summit requires several days of altitude acclimatization and a demanding mountaineering expedition using ice axes and ropes to cross steep snow-covered slopes and cliffs, while confronting the challenges associated with extreme heights. Drina River House is a small wooden house standing alone atop a narrow rock in the middle of the fierce Drina River in western Serbia. Built in 1968 by a group of local young people who needed a place to rest while swimming, the structure sits directly in the middle of the fast-flowing current. Its isolated location continuously exposes the house to significant hydrodynamic pressure from nature. Despite its simple and fragile appearance, the structure has survived for decades, while enduring strong currents and frequent flooding. The house was not designed by professional engineers or formally trained architects. Instead, amateur builders applied practical solutions to maximize the structure's chances of survival. To adapt to the river, the house features large gaps beneath the floor, allowing floodwaters to pass through rather than push against the entire structure. All basic construction materials were transported to the rock platform by handmade boats and human labor. The house operates completely off-grid, with no electrical network, running water, or modern infrastructure utilities. Although it is not an ancient historic landmark, this persistence has transformed the house into a modern cultural symbol of the region. Every year, this remarkable site attracts thousands of international visitors who come to see it and take photographs. It stands as clear evidence of humanity's determination to build living spaces in extreme environments. Elliðaey Island House is the absolute definition of extreme solitude, standing alone amid the green grasslands of a steep volcanic island in Iceland. This structure sits isolated in the stormy North Atlantic Ocean, completely cut off from the mainland. Its unique geographic location leaves this loneliest house on Earth, standing in total isolation without a single person nearby. This survival house was built in 1953 by a local hunting association as an overnight shelter for puffin hunters. Over the decades, the structure has operated entirely off-grid, with no electricity, no running water, no central heating system, and no neighbors whatsoever. All amenities depend on self-sustaining energy sources. To withstand icy ocean storms and the pressure of isolation, the structure was designed with sturdy wooden walls, covered by a highly durable corrugated metal roof. The house features a homemade rainwater collection system directly connected to the roof for daily use. Inside this compact space, a special gas-powered sauna also operates. Reaching the house is a life-threatening challenge that requires traveling by boat across violently rough seas. Visitors must make a risky leap from the bow of the boat onto slippery cliffs, then use ropes to climb up the towering slope. This extreme terrain barrier means very few people can set foot in this isolated survival space. Vardzia is a massive cave settlement complex carved directly into the sandstone slope of Mount Ereshkigal in Georgia. Originally, this living space was completely hidden inside the mountain to conceal it from invading armies. However, a powerful earthquake collapsed the outer face of the mountain, exposing a honeycomb-like structure of hundreds of open-air stone rooms suspended within the wild landscape. Ancient residents carved a total of 13 levels into the rock, creating more than 600 functional chambers connected through secret passageways. The entire complex, from bakeries and wine workshops to food storage cellars, operated as a self-contained system. This entire way of life was sustained by a sophisticated gravity-fed underground water network. The natural disaster completely transformed daily life within this communal dwelling. After losing its protective stone wall, the corridors connecting the levels became narrow stone balconies, precariously positioned along the edge of a deep abyss. The inhabitants were forced to adapt to everyday life suspended against steep cliffs. Inside the caves, the walls still bear dark smoke stains left by kitchen hearths and oil lamps from centuries ago. The chill of the stone interior fills the living spaces, contrasting sharply with the scorching heat of the valley below. This ruined architectural complex has remained standing through centuries of change, leaving behind a striking legacy of rugged settlement. Abuna Yemata is a one-of-a-kind Orthodox church carved directly into the heart of a solitary sandstone rock tower at an elevation of 8,465 feet in the Tigray region of Ethiopia. Built in the 5th century, this ancient structure sits suspended high above the ground, completely separated from the terrain below by terrifying vertical cliffs. Reaching this precarious stone platform is a life-threatening challenge that requires people to go barefoot to maximize their grip on the rock. Worshippers and priests must use their bare hands to cling to small rock holds worn smooth by centuries of use, climbing a nearly vertical cliff face without ropes, harnesses, or any form of safety barrier. The church was not designed for long-term residence, so the interior consists solely of simple ceremonial spaces. The dedicated priest still performs the daily climb along the cliff face to open the church and conduct baptisms for children carried on their parents' backs as they make the perilous ascent up the sheer rock wall. The Sphinx Observatory is firmly anchored to a narrow mountain ridge at an elevation of 11,811 feet between two snow-covered peaks in Switzerland. The structure is directly connected to Jungfraujoch, home to the highest railway station in Europe and one of the continent's highest permanently staffed research facilities. The surrounding landscape remains snow-covered year-round, leaving the site completely isolated from the valleys below. The observatory was completed in 1937 after an extremely challenging construction process amid avalanches, and harsh alpine terrain. To withstand constant wind gusts at the summit, the entire foundation system and steel framework were securely anchored and drilled deep into the solid granite bedrock. The most unusual feature of the structure is that visitors do not need to undertake a dangerous mountain climb to reach it. Instead, they travel by train through the mountain itself. From a railway station deep inside the cold rock mass, a 354-foot elevator carries people vertically to the observatory in approximately 25 seconds. Inside the Sphinx are laboratories, meteorological stations, and observation decks offering expansive views of the glaciers. Because of its extreme elevation, all operations must adapt to low atmospheric pressure and reduced oxygen levels, transforming the tower into a resilient scientific outpost among the clouds. Katskhi Pillar is a natural monolithic limestone rock formation approximately 130 feet tall, located near the town of Chiatura in the Imereti region of western Georgia. At the top of this solitary rock tower, the remains of an ancient monastery built in the 9th or 10th century were discovered, occupying an extremely limited surface area of only about 1,600 square feet. All ancient construction materials were transported to the summit using a primitive pulley system pressed against the vertical rock face. The interior of the monastery is extremely cramped, consisting of a small church, a crypt, and a wine cellar used for long-term ascetic living. Modern living conveniences are completely absent on top of this isolated rock pillar. Daily life here takes place under intense psychological pressure, as toilet and bathing facilities rely on a primitive collection system located right beside the edge of a deep precipice. The water supply depends entirely on stored rainwater, and the monks must cook for themselves on a narrow wood-burning stove. The only access route today is a steep metal ladder attached directly to the rock. Would you dare climb a rusty iron ladder, rising 130 feet, without any safety net to experience this solitary way of life? Today, local authorities enforce strict regulations that allow only male monks to access the top of the rock pillar in order to preserve an austere monastic tradition that is more than 1,000 years old. Refuge des Cosmiques is a refuge constructed from wood and aluminum, firmly anchored to a granite ridge in the Mont Blanc Massif near Chamonix, France. Located at an elevation of 11,854 feet, the structure serves as a precarious survival outpost amid a landscape of permanent ice and snow. From its reinforced windows, the refuge overlooks steep, wind-swept slopes filled with hazards. The building was established in the 1930s to support cosmic ray research before later becoming a stopover point for mountaineers. Because of the steep terrain and numerous glacier crevasses, all deliveries of supplies and fuel now depend entirely on helicopters. All household waste must also be collected and transported back to the mainland. The box-shaped architecture was engineered to withstand wind gusts exceeding 124 miles per hour and sub-freezing temperatures throughout the year. The foundation system uses heavy-duty steel anchors drilled deep into the bedrock, preventing the structure from sliding toward the abyss below. Water is so scarce that snow-melting machines must operate continuously. To reach the refuge, climbers must travel from the cable car station and cross a narrow snow-covered ridge with deep drop-offs on both sides. This mountain refuge serves as a resilient stronghold, protecting climbers before they begin their ascent of Mont Blanc. Oia is an extreme settlement perched along the volcanic rim of Santorini, Greece. Its distinctive feature lies in the structure of its hyposkafa houses, stacked like stair steps, along the towering hillside. This architectural style maximizes the use of limited space, transforming the roof of a lower house into a walkway or courtyard for the residents living above. Residents make use of layers of lime-rich volcanic ash and lightweight pumice left behind by historic eruptions to carve deep into the mountainside. This manual excavation created durable, vaulted rooms that require no supporting beams, columns, or roof tiles. These underground walls provide excellent natural temperature regulation against the intense Mediterranean heat. The transportation network completely excludes motor vehicles because of the steep terrain. Daily movement and the transport of necessities depend on thousands of narrow, winding stone steps. Residents must travel on foot or use pack donkeys to move goods up and down through the blazing sunlight that sweeps across the whitewashed pathways. Beneath the whitewashed cave walls lies loose volcanic ash geology that remains vulnerable to landslides after seismic disturbances. This terraced architectural complex accepts a precarious existence beside constant geological hazards, revealing a highly challenging form of habitation. The settlement continues to endure, leaving behind a unique model of human survival. Castellfollit de la Roca stands atop a narrow basalt cliff in Catalonia, Spain, formed by fossilized volcanic lava flows thousands of years ago. This living environment is severely constrained to a stone ridge less than 0.62 miles long and only as wide as two houses placed side by side. The barren rock rises approximately 164 feet above the surrounding wilderness. Since medieval times, residents have used the dark volcanic stone found on site to carve walls and build red-tiled roofs. This architectural approach transforms the entire village into a unified structure that blends seamlessly into the extreme terrain. Interior spaces are utilized to the fullest, with every square foot carefully optimized to conserve space. The Fluvia and Torinel rivers surround the base of the cliff, acting as natural moats that separate the village from the surrounding flatlands. A single narrow stone road running along the spine of this basalt ridge serves as the only route for residents. The inhabitants accept a windy daily life while living directly beside steep drop-offs. The boundary between the living rooms of these homes and the open void beyond is separated only by the thickness of an ancient stone wall. The breathtaking terrain transforms everyday activities on the edge of this basalt cliff into an extreme and demanding experience. The medieval settlement remains firmly standing, becoming one of the most unique residential models in the world. Meteora is an ancient monastery complex perched atop gigantic sandstone pillars in the region of Thessaly, Greece. This structure was built in the 14th century and served as a survival fortress completely separated from the violence of the world below. Its perilous geographic location has made it a symbol of extreme isolation. Inside, the monasteries form a cramped maze of dark passageways, low ceilings, and tiny meditation rooms no larger than matchboxes. The thick walls were roughly constructed from sandstone and mud mortar mixed with straw, completely separating the occupants from the outside environment. The interior was stripped of every form of minimal comfort. Each monk possessed only a narrow wooden sleeping platform covered with a simple wool blanket, facing the bone-chilling cold of winter frost directly. The site had no electrical grid or natural source of domestic water. People survived by relying on exposed stone cisterns designed to collect rainwater. An unusual sanitation system was built in the form of wooden enclosures projecting beyond the cliff edge, discharging all household waste directly into the valley hundreds of feet below. For centuries, movement up and down depended entirely on dangerous rope ladders or pulley-operated baskets before stone stairways were eventually constructed. Wangxian Valley in Shangrao City, Jiangxi Province, China, is one of the most extreme architectural scenic areas in the world. Every structure here has been meticulously built in the traditional style of northeastern Jiangxi. The houses cling to cliffs rising approximately 361 feet high, creating a dreamlike scene that appears straight out of a martial arts fantasy film. In reality, this is not an ancient village, but a highly successful modern restoration and development project. People transformed an abandoned granite quarry into a gravity-defying settlement space. The buildings are supported by a structural beam system anchored directly into the mountainside, using rammed earth walls and bluestone roof tiles. Precarious monkey bridges and wooden boardwalks running along the edges of deep precipices serve as the residents' only means of movement. The dangerous terrain completely isolates the area from conventional motorized transportation. All daily necessities must be carried manually by human labor through dense layers of fog. Beneath these structures lies a roaring waterfall and a desolate rocky abyss plunging into great depths. The extreme terrain turns every ordinary daily activity into a breathtaking adventure. The buildings stand firmly attached to the cliff face, becoming one of humanity's most rugged and dramatic settlements. Henningsvær is an extreme fishing village rooted in the icy waters of the Norwegian Sea within the Lofoten archipelago. The remarkable feature of this living environment is its wooden rorbu structures, partly resting on bare rock and partly supported by piles driven directly into the Arctic Ocean. This survival-oriented architecture pushes the houses to the very boundary between land and the open sea. The foundation piles are made from solid timber trunks, submerged in salt water year-round and protected with steel cladding against ice abrasion. The buildings are coated with whale oil-based treatments, combined with ochre pigments to withstand the harsh corrosive effects of sea salt. Interior living spaces are compact and insulated with advanced thermal barriers. Narrow wooden walkways suspended above freezing seawater channels provide the only connection between individual households. The entire heating system is integrated beneath the floors and operates using warm ocean currents flowing beneath the icy waters. Residents accept a daily life shaped by the constant movement of waves rising from the sea below. The structural framework uses sliding mechanical joints to adapt to the contraction of timber when temperatures fall to dozens of degrees below zero. This flexible system helps prevent cracking and allows the buildings to maintain stability under severe frost conditions. These polar wooden houses endure with resilience, revealing a highly challenging form of habitation. Aogashima is one of the most extreme settlements on Earth, where a small village is nestled within the caldera of a massive volcanic crater that remains quietly active in the Pacific Ocean. The homes here are built closely together on geothermally heated ground, surrounded by steep black cliffs rising hundreds of feet and completely separating the community from the outside world. The isolated terrain has forced residential architecture to adapt in highly unusual ways. Residents do not rely on conventional heating systems or gas stoves. Instead, they channel hot steam directly from geothermal vents into their homes through specially constructed pipes for cooking and heating. Every building foundation must be engineered to withstand the continuous tremors generated by the restless earth beneath. Because the island lacks a natural harbor and its cliffs plunge directly into deep ocean waters, transporting construction materials is a remarkable feat of human effort. Residents must use enormous pulley systems and cranes suspended from the cliff faces to lift bags of cement and steel beams from ships rocking in rough seas up to the top of the cliffs. Daily life in these volcano homes operates alongside a seismic warning system that remains active 24 hours a day. Despite living with the constant threat of an unexpected eruption, the community continues to endure, transforming this dangerous caldera into a unique survival fortress of human architecture. Bishop Rock Lighthouse is a lighthouse located in the Atlantic Ocean and part of the United Kingdom. Recognized by Guinness World Records as the world's smallest island with a man-made structure, the entire natural rock outcrop provides just enough space to support a granite tower approximately 161 feet tall. The structure makes it difficult to believe that humans once attempted to construct a permanent building on a rock barely large enough to stand on. Courageous builders spent 7 full years completing the present structure while enduring relentless exposure to rough seas. All construction materials had to be transported by boat and manually hoisted in turbulent waters. This architectural achievement stands as a testament to human resilience, confronting the immense power of the ocean directly. Despite being built from massive granite blocks and reinforced multiple times over the years, life within this structure was never truly peaceful. Lighthouse keepers reported that during storms they could feel the entire tower shaking after each powerful impact from the waves. Inside the solitary tower is a series of simple, circular living quarters stacked one above another. Today, the lighthouse is fully automated and equipped with a helicopter landing platform on the roof to support remote maintenance operations. This rocky outpost has endured for centuries, becoming one of the most isolated navigational beacons on Earth. At an elevation of 12,631 feet in the Ladakh region of India, a limestone canyon in the Himalayas is pierced by a bizarre honeycomb-like structure known as Fugtal Monastery. This 12th century complex was built without access to any motorized road. All of its living quarters are stacked upon one another beneath the vault of a massive natural cave. Willow wood planks and sun-dried mud bricks, carried entirely by human labor, form the core materials of the structure. Upon entering, the living space appears as a suffocating maze with walls made entirely of rugged mountain stone. The ceilings are extremely low and covered with thick black soot, accumulated from centuries of wood-burning smoke. Every meditation room is stripped of even the most basic comforts, with monks living solely on simple wooden platforms. The monastery's internal ecosystem is completely self-contained, no electrical grid, no telecommunication signal, and constant exposure to temperatures dozens of degrees below 0 degrees Celsius. Activities such as bathing and using sanitation facilities are strictly controlled by weather conditions. Running water does not exist within this extreme architectural layout. To sustain daily life, people rely on a small underground stream emerging from a deep crevice inside the cave. During winter, monks must carry blocks of frozen river water from the bottom of the valley up the steep mountainside for cooking and daily use. Skellig Michael is a spectacular, steep rocky island located off the coast of County Kerry, Ireland, renowned worldwide for its unique combination of ancient history and popular culture. This isolated geographic location was home to a monastery dating from the 6th to the 8th century and is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The island's structure completely separates people from the mainland. Within this 1,000-year-old monastic complex, the living quarters of medieval monks consisted of distinctive beehive-shaped stone huts. These extraordinary rooms were built entirely using meticulous dry stone construction techniques, requiring absolute precision without the use of any mortar or binding material. The interiors were stripped of even the most basic comforts. Every aspect of daily life, from eating and sleeping to sanitation, took place within enclosed spaces made of rough stone, completely lacking modern conveniences. To reach this ancient site, visitors must climb 618 steep stone steps with no handrails, facing a demanding challenge above the Atlantic Ocean. Transporting supplies necessary for survival depended entirely on human physical effort, across slippery stone steps, carrying significant risks. Despite centuries of direct exposure to freezing ocean storms, this unique dry stone structure has remained remarkably resilient. It stands as the ultimate symbol of human perseverance and survival. Formed from the remnants of an extinct volcano, the vertical rock tower of Tong Kalat rises dramatically at the foot of Mount Popa in Myanmar. This unusual geological formation serves as the foundation for a sacred Buddhist monastery perched atop the summit. Its geographic isolation transforms the entire complex into a unique spiritual fortress. The journey to the summit requires visitors to walk completely barefoot, while climbing a system of 777 covered steps running along the steep rock face. This ascending pathway tests visitors' endurance, as they must deal directly with hundreds of mischievous and remarkably bold wild monkeys that surround the route. In the highest level of traditional Burmese folk belief, this site is known as the Home of the Spirits. It serves as a major center of worship dedicated to the 37 Nat spirits, regarded as protective entities in local culture. The spiritual atmosphere blends together to create a dense environment separated from the world below. From the monastery's highest point, visitors can enjoy sweeping views across the vast Bagan Plains and the majestic peak of Mount Popa emerging through the mist. The architecture atop the rock tower makes maximum use of the limited surface area to arrange shrines and sacred halls, creating a wonder suspended among the clouds. Mont Saint-Michel is a fortified island commune located off the coast of Normandy, France, famous for its Gothic-style abbey perched atop a massive granite rock. The most distinctive feature of this structure is the constant transformation of the surrounding landscape. The island continuously shifts between being an isolated fortress surrounded by the ocean and a hill connected to the mainland, according to the rhythm of the tides. During high tide, waves crash directly against the stone walls, completely cutting off all access by land. In contrast, when the tide recedes, a vast expanse of muddy sand flats emerges, allowing people to cross on foot. The harsh natural conditions turn these sandy routes into deadly traps because of quicksand and the rapid speed at which the water returns. The fortress architecture clearly reflects the hierarchical structure of medieval feudal society. At the highest point stand the abbey and church, symbolizing religious authority. Below them are the residences of the nobility, and at the base of the rock are shops and defensive walls. All the rough stone buildings are stacked upon one another and firmly attached to the slope, creating a stable, cone-shaped layout. The structure has a resilient history, having withstood every siege during the 100 Years' War, thanks to the natural defensive barrier provided by the tides. Today, although a modern causeway bridge connects the site to the mainland, this 1,000-year-old architectural complex has preserved its majestic character and remains a truly unique historical wonder. Coober Pedy lies deep within the barren deserts of South Australia, home to unique underground houses excavated directly into sandstone formations. This harsh geographic environment isolates residential structures entirely below ground, transforming them into an extreme shelter system designed to escape the brutal heat of the desert. Would you be willing to give up sunlight in exchange for survival beneath the dark underground? While summer temperatures above ground frequently exceed 118.4 degrees Fahrenheit, the interiors of these underground homes naturally maintain a stable temperature between 68 degrees Fahrenheit and 71.6 degrees Fahrenheit without requiring any artificial air conditioning systems. To create these living spaces, mechanical excavation equipment is used to carve deep into the earth and form functional rooms. This underground architecture requires precise engineering techniques, including leaving natural rock pillars at least 3 feet thick to support the ceiling and prevent structural collapse throughout the home. Each standard underground house still contains a kitchen, bedroom, and living room connected to a vertical ventilation shaft with a diameter of 8 inches, extending directly to the surface for oxygen circulation. However, the complete absence of natural sunlight forces residents to install continuous full-spectrum lighting systems to help prevent psychological disorders associated with light deprivation. Kandavan is a strange village in Iran, where residents have transformed pointed rock formations created by volcanic ash eruptions into homes for the past 700 years. The landscape is barren, resembling a giant colony of termite mounds rising straight into the sky. Instead of building brick walls, The villagers chose to hollow out the interiors of sandstone cones that are millions of years old to create self-contained living spaces. Each individual rock cone serves as a multi-story house, with functions divided vertically in an unusual way. The ground floor is typically used as livestock shelter, so that rising heat warms the floors above, while the upper levels serve as family living spaces. The natural sandstone helps the home stay cool during summer and warm throughout the freezing winter. Movement between these structures depends on a network of rough, steep stone paths that follow the slope of the mountain. Motor vehicles are completely isolated from these internal pathways because of the steep rock faces. Residents are required to transport daily necessities by human labor or by using pack donkeys. The scarcity of light forces residents to carve small windows into the front faces to capture sunlight. Most interior features, from beds to kitchen shelves, are carved directly into the solid rock walls, creating a seamless structure. This 1,000-year-old residential architecture continues to function resiliently, defying every modern standard. Dangkar is an ancient Tibetan Buddhist monastery fortress overlooking the Spiti Valley in Himachal Pradesh, India. Situated at an impressive elevation of approximately 12,776 feet, this extreme living environment once served as the historic capital of the ancient kingdom of Spiti. The settlement was built in a precarious position along the edge of a steep cliff, isolated amid the Himalayas. The architecture uses distinctive gray-white rammed earth materials that blend into the harsh, natural surroundings. From a distance, the entire village appears to be carved directly into naturally eroded rock formations, standing suspended high above the ground. Residential quarters and monastic spaces are carved deep into the rock face and connected by narrow, exposed stairways. This rugged location sits above a river confluence where the Spiti River and the Pin River meet beneath the deep valley. The extreme setting isolates the entire area from conventional motorized transportation because of the steep cliffs. Residents accept a life of direct exposure to freezing winds and severe oxygen scarcity at such a great altitude. The rammed earth walls, coated with layers of rock dust accumulated over centuries, preserve evidence of the resilient survival of highland communities. The terrain transforms every routine religious activity into a breathtaking and demanding experience. The complex endures with remarkable resilience, becoming one of the most magnificent symbols of human settlement in the world. The row houses of Chongqing Bridge Village are among the most unusual settlements in Chongqing, China, built directly on top of a viaduct. Instead of being anchored to the ground, the homes stand precariously on a system of massive concrete pillars spanning a deep valley. This extreme architecture transforms the entire residential cluster into a village suspended in midair. The narrow surface of this transportation structure has been fully utilized as the foundation for a self-contained community. Modern brick walls were built closely together, combined with stone-paved walkways running along the length of the bridge. The houses are separated into individual units and face directly toward the dangerous open space along both edges of the bridge. The elevation of the bridge connecting two steep mountainsides completely determines how residents move about. Daily life takes place on a narrow strip of concrete, entirely separated from the ground, dozens of feet below. Residents must accept a windy lifestyle and the constant presence of slight mechanical vibrations. The desolate abyss and the multi-layered transportation network beneath the bridge create an extreme artificial landscape. The unusual terrain turns every daily activity in this bridge-top village into an adventurous experience. The row houses stand resiliently, becoming one of the strangest housing models on the planet. Bonifacio is a gravity-defying supervilla perched precariously at an elevation of approximately 230 feet along the edge of the sheer white limestone cliff in France. This ultra-exclusive living space abandons conventional foundations to capture uninterrupted views stretching across the Mediterranean Sea. Its futuristic architecture transforms the structure into a geometric form disguised with raw stone materials that blend harmoniously with the surroundings. The stability of the residence relies entirely on a system of titanium anchors driven approximately 98 feet deep into the rock to resist erosion. The core structure of the house is excavated directly into the limestone cliff, allowing the entire building to remain firmly attached while withstanding powerful ocean winds. Inside, the villa features an unusual bedroom with a glass floor projecting outward into open space. The hidden circulation route of the super residence is a secret passage carved through the sandstone, leading directly to a private marina below. This isolated access method completely separates the owner from the outside world, emphasizing maximum privacy. This solitary dwelling operates with self-sufficient energy generated by modern wall-integrated wind turbines. Beneath the bedroom's glass floor, powerful waves crash relentlessly against the stark white limestone cliffs. Extreme terrain is mastered through advanced engineering, transforming luxurious daily life into a breathtaking adventure. The superstructure stands firmly in place, becoming one of the wildest and most isolated residential models along the French coastline. Setenil de las Bodegas does not occupy the top of a cliff, but instead nestles deep within the cavities of a limestone canyon in Andalusia, Spain. The roofs of the homes are actually millions of tons of natural rock projecting overhead, suspended directly above the residence. This unconventional settlement pattern transforms the streets into dark fissures compressed beneath the overhanging mountain. Residents coat rough brick walls with white lime wash and build them tightly against the cave interior to prevent dust and debris from falling. This architecture borrows strength from nature itself, allowing the underground spaces to remain completely sheltered from the scorching heat outside. Every living space is carved deep into solid rock, rejecting conventional building practices. The narrow channel along the bottom of the Trejo River Valley compresses the stone-paved walkways into winding passages, restricting conventional vehicle traffic. The invisible pressure of the massive rock formations hanging overhead forces residents to adapt to life beneath permanent shade. Daily life unfolds beneath what feels like a gigantic limestone blade suspended above. The whitewashed facades of the houses contrast sharply with the gray, moss-covered stone ceilings that have endured for centuries. The distinctive confinement of this subterranean terrain vividly reflects humanity's extreme capacity for adaptation in the face of adversity. The settlement has endured for centuries, leaving behind one of the most unusual and breathtaking residential models in existence. Vardzia is an extreme stone settlement perched on the towering cliffs of a solitary rocky island rising from the Mediterranean Sea in Greece. The remarkable aspect of this living environment is that the entire community clings to the rear face of the mountain, completely isolated from the mainland. This survival-oriented architecture occupies a precarious position beside steep precipices, turning its back on the outside world. The two-story houses are built from dark volcanic stone, carved and anchored directly into the steep mountainside. This design transforms the structures into an extension of the barren cliff itself, providing perfect concealment from potential enemies. Interior spaces are compact and austere, featuring exposed stone walls without decorative finishes. The only route connecting the settlement to the rest of the world is a narrow causeway that is frequently battered by sea storms. Residents must rely entirely on walking through tight stone gateways to transport daily necessities by hand. The endurance of the settlement depends on its ability to withstand powerful ocean winds. Directly beneath the windows of the houses lies a steep rocky precipice plunging into the roaring sea below. The dangerous terrain places constant pressure on everyday life, transforming the settlement into a resilient stronghold that has endured for centuries. This solitary architectural complex remains firmly anchored offshore, preserving a legacy of rugged human habitation. Wae Rebo is home to a collection of ancient houses located at an elevation of approximately 3,937 feet above sea level on Flores Island, Indonesia. This extreme living environment is hidden within a valley that remains covered by dense mist throughout the year. The entire settlement consists of only 7 massive cone-shaped structures rising from the heart of the rainforest. Inside the houses, there are no modern conveniences, and each level is assigned a strict survival-related function. The ground floor serves as the communal living area where extended families gather and cook over smoky wood-burning stoves, while the upper levels are used to store food supplies and seeds. Residents accept a life without electrical grids, surrounded by darkness, and relying on the warmth of the central hearth. The dark brown color of the thatched roofs contrasts sharply with the wild green landscape covering the mountainside. Human adaptability is clearly reflected in the way these architectural forms preserve a traditional communal lifestyle. These cone-shaped houses stand resiliently, becoming one of the most distinctive settlement models on Earth. Shirakawago is home to historic houses standing at the foot of Mount Ryuhaku in Gifu Prefecture, Japan. The region endures record-breaking snowfall, with seasonal accumulations reaching approximately 13.1 feet each winter. These shelters respond to nature through enormous thatched roofs that rise steeply, like two hands pressed together in prayer, designed to bear the burden of harsh weather. The Gasho Zukuri framework is constructed entirely from timber and bamboo fastenings, completely avoiding iron nails, in order to maintain flexibility during seismic activity. The roofs reach slopes of up to 60 degrees, allowing heavy snow layers to slide naturally to the ground and reducing the risk of collapse. A thatch layer, approximately 3.3 feet thick, serves as the primary thermal insulation. The interior is divided into 3 floor levels and operates without heavy reliance on modern mechanical conveniences. Fires burning continuously in sunken charcoal hearths generate warm air that rises through the upper attic levels, where silkworm trays are dried. Thick smoke blackens the interior walls and acts as a natural preservative against insects and decay. Every few decades, the entire village works together to remove and weave a new thatched roof within a single day. This simple but powerful communal cooperation is the anchor that has allowed these buildings to endure centuries of frost and severe winters. These insulated mountain houses reveal a highly practical architectural response to a demanding environment. The town of Aruya is hidden at an elevation of approximately 9,121 feet in the Andes Mountains of Salta Province, Argentina, where houses are built directly along the edge of a steep cliff. The terrain is carved apart by deep canyons and dry riverbeds that surround it on all sides. This isolated location transforms every residential structure into an architectural cluster suspended above open space. To remain stable on slopes, reaching 40 degrees without collapsing, builders use fired mud brick walls and lightweight thatched roofs to minimize pressure on the foundations. These homes form a minimalist architectural complex that places its safety entirely in the strength of the natural rock face. The mountainous terrain does not provide a single square foot of flat ground for human habitation. Structures must be excavated into and partially anchored within the mountain rock to create load-bearing support points. Connections between houses rely solely on narrow stone stairways that are steep and slippery, where a single misstep can lead directly into the abyss below. When the rainy season arrives, floodwaters from tributary rivers rise violently, completely blocking the only access route and turning this cliffside settlement into an isolated island. Over many decades, foundations built using dry stone masonry techniques have allowed the houses to flex and adapt, surviving the geological tremors of the harsh Andes with remarkable resilience. Spiti Valley lies at an elevation of more than 12,467 feet in the Himalayas of Himachal Pradesh, India, where mud and stone houses cling tightly to steep mountainsides. The cold desert landscape is filled with gravel, rock, and deep canyons surrounding the region. This isolated geographic setting transforms the homes into precarious structures built for survival. The residential architecture of Spiti represents an extreme adaptation, using rammed earth walls combined with rough stone more than 3 feet thick, mixed with straw and poplar wood for insulation. These houses must endure winters lasting up to 6 months when outdoor temperatures plunge to -22 degrees Fahrenheit. The thick walls help maintain warmth inside the living spaces. Each house is designed with a strictly layered functional layout to maximize the limited amount of heat available. The narrow and fully enclosed ground floor is used to shelter livestock so that biological heat can rise into the living quarters above. Windows are kept as small as possible to block the constant force of violent snowstorms and freezing winds. During winter, snowfall several yards deep completely blocks the steep pathways, turning each house into a self-sufficient bunker isolated from the outside world. Residents must live within confined spaces and rely on dried food supplies stored in advance. Living in these homes is a physical struggle against the freezing power of nature. On the edge of Disco Bay in western Greenland, approximately 217 miles north of the Arctic Circle, lies Ilulissat, a collection of wooden houses facing directly toward Jakobshavn Glacier, one of the most active glaciers on Earth. The landscape is shaped by the meeting of ancient quartz rock and enormous drifting icebergs, creating a harsh residential environment along the ocean's edge. The greatest threat to these buildings does not come from snowfall, but from the permafrost beneath them. If heat from the foundations reaches the frozen ground, the ice can thaw and destabilize the structures above. As a result, the wooden cabins must be elevated above the surface on steel support piles anchored deep into solid bedrock. Inside these waterproof painted wooden structures, life unfolds under the pressure of winter darkness and temperatures that can fall to -22 degrees Fahrenheit. To survive such conditions, windows are equipped with extra thick triple glazing designed to block powerful Arctic winds. The entire water supply and drainage network must run above ground within insulated utility conduits extending along the hillside. Powerful vibrations from massive glacier calving events in the bay regularly travel through the surrounding rock formations, testing the flexibility of the wooden frameworks each day. Rather than relying on rigid concrete structures, the houses depend on the natural flexibility of timber to absorb forces generated by shifting ground conditions. Living here is a constant exercise in balancing architecture against ice and extreme cold. The tidal island of Lindisfarne lies off the coast of Northumberland in northeastern United Kingdom, where sturdy homes must adapt to periodic isolation caused by the North Sea. The landscape is characterized by flooded sand flats and wind-swept sedimentary cliffs. This location transforms residential buildings into survival-oriented fortresses that operate according to the rhythm of the ocean. The distinctive feature of the local architecture is its ability to confront changing sea levels directly. All houses are built from locally sourced sandstone with thick walls, reinforced by resilient lime mortar to withstand high salt concentrations and powerful coastal storms. Each structure functions as an independent miniature seawall capable of resisting wave forces. Entrances are constructed higher than the surrounding ground level and equipped with thick oak doors fitted with pressure-resistant locking systems to prevent seawater intrusion during extreme high tides. Interior living spaces minimize northeast-facing windows, where freezing winds from the North Sea constantly strike the cliffs and buildings. Twice each day, the only raised roadway connecting the island to the mainland is completely submerged by seawater, cutting off all external mechanical assistance. Homes must incorporate rainwater storage systems and wall-mounted dry food storage areas to sustain life during periods of isolation. Living here means accepting a lifestyle governed entirely by the tides. Iquitos lies deep within the Amazon basin in northeastern Peru and is a completely isolated city with no road connection to the outside world. The landscape is fragmented by dense tropical rainforest and flooded river systems. This location transforms residential structures into survival-oriented dwellings, floating upon powerful waterways. The architectural solution here consists of floating houses built on ultralight balsa wood rafts that resist decay. These structures have no fixed foundations and instead rise and fall with the river level, effectively neutralizing the impact of powerful floods descending from upstream regions. Interior spaces are kept extremely minimal to maintain balance and stability on the water. Rooms use bamboo curtains for ventilation, reducing resistance against tropical storms. Daily life depends on steel cables anchoring the homes to ancient trees along the riverbanks, preventing them from being swept away by strong currents. All transportation and the delivery of essential supplies rely entirely on boats that often travel for days. During the dry season, when river levels fall dramatically, the houses settle directly onto deep layers of muddy sediment. Living here means moving in rhythm with the pulse of the Amazon. Rocinha is located on the steep cliffs of southern Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where thousands of self-built homes are crowded onto mountainsides with slopes reaching 50 degrees and overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. The terrain is a maze of steep earth and rock, divided by narrow ravines and sharp inclines. This location transforms the entire area into an extreme residential settlement constantly facing the threat of landslides. Residents build structures themselves using red bricks and low-quality concrete, stacking them into box-like buildings reaching up to 7 stories high on unstable ground. Because there are no deep foundation piles anchored into bedrock, the enormous weight of these structures rests directly on easily eroded surface soil. Beneath rusted metal roofs, the walls of neighboring houses are often separated by less than 1.6 feet, almost completely eliminating natural sunlight. The only routes connecting homes are steep alleyways barely 3.3 feet wide, forcing residents to carry daily necessities by hand up and down hundreds of steps. Heavy floods descending from the rocky mountaintops generate powerful water flows, capable of tearing away houses positioned along cliff edges and carrying them into the ravines below. To survive, residents reinforce their homes with sandbags and improvised retaining walls approximately 1 foot thick. Living here is a constant struggle against risk. Sassi di Meteora is a unique historic district composed of cave dwellings carved directly into limestone cliffs in the city of Meteora, in the Basilicata region of southern Italy. Situated along the edge of a deep canyon eroded by the Gravina River, this settlement represents one of the oldest continuously inhabited residential structures on Earth, with a history extending more than 9,000 years. The architecture pushes the limits of design, with cave houses stacked upon one another in a steep labyrinth where the roof of one dwelling serves as the street or foundation for the home above. Ancient builders carved deeply into calcarenite limestone to create living spaces, using the excavated stone itself to construct the load-bearing facades of the buildings. The interior environment of these caves is naturally dark and isolated, relying on a single entrance for both daylight and air circulation. The porous limestone acts as an extreme natural climate control system, helping maintain interior temperatures at approximately 59 degrees Fahrenheit, regardless of freezing winters or scorching summers. Once considered the national shame of Italy during the 1950s because of widespread poverty, the area experienced a remarkable revival and was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1993, before becoming a European Capital of Culture in 2019. The enduring survival of these cave houses across millennia stands as a powerful testament to adaptive stone-based architecture. Civita di Bagnoregio is a medieval village perched atop a volcanic tufa hill in the province of Viterbo, within the Lazio region of central Italy. The village is surrounded by deep valleys carved into the landscape, creating an extreme settlement seemingly suspended above open space. This isolated terrain has transformed the entire community into a geological survival fortress. The village is globally known as the Dying Town because the cliffs beneath it are continuously eroded by wind and rain, causing sections along the edges to risk collapsing into the canyon at any time. To remain anchored on the soft tufa rock, medieval builders reinforced foundations with basalt blocks to distribute daily mechanical stresses. Geographic isolation has preserved Civita's medieval architecture almost completely, with no cars or motorcycles present within the village. The only connection to the outside world is a steep concrete bridge approximately 984 feet long, across which all building materials and daily supplies must be transported, using small utility vehicles or human labor. The greatest threat to the historic houses comes from sudden geological subsidence capable of fracturing foundations located near the cliff edges. Long steel anchors are driven deep into the hillside to stabilize vulnerable walls and prevent collapse. Living here is an ongoing race against time in the face of relentless natural erosion. Sumela Monastery is perched dramatically on a steep cliff at an elevation of approximately 3,937 feet in the Altındere Valley of Maska district, Trabzon province, in Turkey's Black Sea region. This ancient settlement presses tightly against a vertical rock face surrounded by vast pine forests. Its location transforms the structure into an isolated spiritual fortress suspended among the clouds. Built around 386 AD during the reign of Roman Emperor Theodosius I, it is one of the oldest structures to confront the constant threat of geological instability. Ancient engineers carved deeply into the granite cliff and constructed a system of ancient oak support beams to carry entire residential sections projecting outward over open space. The foundation system relies entirely on the natural recesses of the cave to reduce the impact of landslides descending from the mountain above. The only access route connecting the monastery to the outside world is a narrow stone staircase running along the edge of a deep precipice, where fog covers the area for nearly 200 days each year, creating extremely slippery conditions. Constant moisture from the Black Sea climate has challenged the ancient lime mortar connections for centuries. To protect the structure, Steep slate-covered roofs were specially designed to disperse powerful streams of water, cascading down from the cliffs above. Life at Sumela has been a centuries-long struggle against gravity and the forces of nature. Predjama Castle is the largest cave castle in the world, built directly into the entrance of a limestone cave set within a cliff, approximately 404 feet high in Slovenia. The rear portion of the structure relies entirely on the natural rock formation. Many ceilings and supporting columns are actually naturally formed stalactite and cave features, turning the entire complex into a fortress embedded deep within the mountain. The cave system behind the castle extends for several miles through the limestone mountain. During times of war, this network of secret tunnels was used to transport food and supplies when the castle was under siege. The unique terrain allowed the inhabitants to maintain an ideal underground supply route despite military pressure from outside forces. Today, visitors enter the fortress through a drawbridge. In the past, the main entrances were positioned much higher to minimize enemy access. Elevating the entrances was a military strategy designed to defeat attempts to storm the castle using ladders or battering rams from the valley below. The unrestored sections of the cave are now home to large colonies of bats. Soldiers in earlier centuries had to live in the damp and cold conditions typical of underground environments. This medieval structure has endured for centuries, standing as a remarkable example of architecture seamlessly integrated into a natural landscape. Longyearbyen is a settlement on the Svalbard archipelago of Norway, where death is famously restricted because bodies do not decompose normally in the permanently frozen ground. Wooden houses must be built on steel piles driven deep into the permafrost to prevent collapse when the surface layer thaws during summer. The town functions like a survival outpost, enduring the darkness of the polar night for 4 months each winter. All water pipes and electrical cables must be installed above ground inside heavily insulated conduits rather than buried underground, preventing damage caused by shifting frozen soil. Local regulations require residents leaving the settlement to carry a rifle for protection against polar bears. The area is completely free of pet cats because local authorities prohibit them in order to protect the fragile Arctic bird populations. Daily habits have also evolved in unusual ways, with everyone expected to remove their shoes at the entrance of homes and public buildings, a tradition dating back to the mining era when workers sought to keep coal dust out of living spaces. The climate is so severe that no tree species can grow there, leaving the landscape dominated by snow and bare rock. Brightly colored houses stand resilient against the white surroundings, making Longyearbyen one of humanity's most extreme outposts before reaching the North Pole. Parotaktsang is an extraordinary architectural achievement built in 1692 in Bhutan, also known as the Tiger's Nest Monastery. This structure is firmly attached to a sheer granite cliff at an elevation of 10,236 feet above sea level and stands precariously 2,953 feet above the Perrero Valley. This geographic location completely isolates the monastery from the outside world. This spiritual survival complex consists of 4 main temples and residential quarters, connected by narrow stone pathways and steep stairways clinging to the edge of a deep abyss. The interior space is very limited and serves the daily practice and living needs of the monks. All essential daily activities take place directly beside the towering cliffs. The most remarkable aspect of the structure lies in its seemingly impossible manual construction techniques of the 17th century. The Bhutanese transported wood, stone, and mud up the mountainside entirely by human labor and pack animals. They used natural caves as foundations to support overlapping multi-story wooden buildings, creating an exceptionally unique cliff-hugging structure. Despite facing constant threats from rockfalls and devastating fires such as the major blaze of 1998, the monastery has remained resilient. The secret lies in its earthquake-resistant wooden joinery techniques and a sloped channel system that collects water from upstream waterfalls to sustain daily life. The complex operates independently and has no motorized road access. Ostrog Monastery is a miraculous monastery embedded directly into a vertical rock recess of Mount Ostroška Greda at an elevation of 2,953 feet in Montenegro. The complex consists of the upper and lower cave churches, connected by a winding system of passageways running through the mountain. This location transforms the entire white facade into an architectural shield, protecting the natural rock cavities. Inside, the monastery's living quarters rest directly against rugged cave walls rather than brick walls. In the upper church, monks sleep on narrow stone platforms positioned beside ancient rock paintings dating back to the 17th century. The ventilation system relies entirely on natural airflow through cracks in the mountain, keeping the air dry despite high humidity. The most unusual feature of this extraordinary dwelling is a room that preserves a fragment of a bomb from World War II. A bomb dropped by Nazi Germany pierced through the rock wall and entered the monastery, but strangely did not explode and instead split into two pieces. Food and daily necessities are transported upward through a cable hoist system running along the vertical mountainside. On a stone balcony with no soil whatsoever, an ancient grapevine still grows through a crack in the rock and bears fruit regularly. The water supply here is considered holy water, continuously seeping from an underground spring deep within the cave and collected directly into copper containers. The monastery operates in isolation, challenging the limits of ordinary biological expectations. Measuring barely 16.4 feet wide, yet extending 131.2 feet along a sheer cliff face, Panagia Hosoviotisa Monastery on the island of Amorgos, Greece, is a paradox of flat architecture. This 8-story structure hangs at an elevation of 984 feet directly above the Aegean Sea. The remarkably thin building resembles a white ribbon, firmly embedded into quartz rock, defying the pull of gravity above the ocean. The construction techniques of the 11th century required workers to carve directly into the mountain to install salt-resistant, load-bearing wooden beams. The durability of the structure is illustrated by an iron chisel left suspended on the cliff face by ancient builders for more than 900 years before finally falling in 1956. The building remains standing entirely because its foundations are anchored into the rugged bedrock. To maintain the monastery's existence for nearly 1,000 years, people have had to climb more than 300 exposed stone steps, subjected to powerful sea storm winds. All food supplies, lamp oil, and reinforcement materials have been carried manually by human effort across this extreme terrain barrier. A system of stone reservoirs storing rainwater seeping through the mountain serves as the only source of water. The entrance forces visitors to bend low through a small doorway, leading into a network of irregular rooms coated in bright white lime. The 3 monks living there must carry out their daily lives within corridors barely wide enough for a single person to pass. Daily routines and sanitation drainage are managed entirely within the cliff structure to adapt to the monastery's isolation. The houses of Yangshuo, located within the limestone mountains of Guangxi, China, survive by anchoring their structures directly into the vertical karst cliffs that line the Wae River. The landscape is filled with sharp peaks rising more than 984 feet above mist-covered valleys, making the region one of the most challenging residential environments. Rather than leveling the terrain, builders carve deep into the limestone mountains to create load-bearing cavities, turning the natural cliff face into the rear wall of each house. Specialized steel beams are driven approximately 16.4 feet into the ancient rock, supporting lightweight wooden platforms suspended in mid-air. The only access between levels is a network of chain ladders attached to slopes reaching 80 degrees where powerful valley winds continuously sweep through at high speeds. Daily life requires strict weight limitations, keeping loads below 15 kilograms per square meter to reduce stress on the anchoring system. A constant threat comes from weathered limestone blocks breaking loose from the mountain peaks and crashing down without warning. Residents install steel mesh protection approximately 0.16 inches thick above their homes to absorb impacts. Living in Yangshuo is a constant struggle against gravity and the forces of nature.